and welcome to Filmi Ladies. We are Pitu and Beth. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about two brothers, two very talented and very, very beautiful brothers, sons of a very talented yesteryear superstar whom I wouldn't call beautiful, but I would call him ruggedly handsome. We decided to focus on the Khanna brothers, Rahul and Akshaye, and we're going to talk about their debut films. Rahul's debut film is 1947 Earth, which came out in 1909, and Akshaye's debut film is Himalay Putra, Son of the Himalayas, which came out in 97. We have many, many thoughts. Also, there will be quite a lot of squealing in this episode because both of us are very much have the hots for the Khanna brothers. So you have been warned. We're going to be annoying today. Beth, do you want to start off?
So Akshay Khanna was my first Bollywood, we called back in blog days, we said fake pretend movie boyfriend.
Right.
I have loved him for many years, maybe not as long as some of you listening, since I did not know him when he debuted, but this is the first time I've seen Himalay Putra. I'd never heard much about it at all, other than that it was his debut film and that his dad had produced it. So I was really glad to give myself the homework to watch this film. I did not get to rewatch 1947 Earth, unfortunately, because of technical difficulties yesterday evening that made me almost rip out all my hair. So
Was there a tufan?
There had been a tufan earlier in the day, so it's like tree branches down and everything. So it could have been that, but I don't know. And it's very disappointing to me because I did want to rewatch it. But so I can speak at length about Himalay Putra and also his career in general. Like I am fairly well versed, not an expert, but and Rahul as well. I am fairly well versed. So this is a topic that it's kind of funny. It's taken us almost 2 years to do, honestly, and one of the things that was amusing to me in thinking about this is that, apart from the fact people note that they are brothers, you don't hear them discussed together very much. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can kind of tease some things out about that.
So I know you had WhatsApp me that you couldn't find Himalay Putra with subtitles, right? So did you watch this movie without subtitles?
No, I did find it with subtitles eventually. So wait a minute. No, I didn't. I apologize. I'm getting everything confused. I did not find it with subtitles. So I made do. But fortunately, this film takes everything a hero has ever done and throws it into one movie. So if you've seen some Bollywood before, you can probably follow along with this movie fairly well. I'm exaggerating a little bit, but not by much. I was really amazed at how much this film calls upon Akshay to do. And I'd have to say, he does it, most of it fair to quite well, which is no small thing for a debut film. And I don't believe he went to acting school or anything. So he has learned by absorption very well and maybe practicing. I don't know. I don't know how one prepares for a launch when they have not been in acting school. So drama school. So I don't know. There's a lot happening in this movie. And yet it's one of those bad guy is bad and generational stuff and everything works out fine in the end. Hooray.
I had never seen Himalay Putra.
Yeah.
I vaguely knew the songs, like that whole I Am a Bachelor, which you have this great background.
That song, I had to pause while watching to think to myself, have I never heard about this song somehow? Or maybe I had, but then kind of by the time YouTube came around, I forgot about it or something. But this song, if you are not watching on YouTube and you have not seen this song, it's got the most 90s-ness ever. I want oh my gosh, that great movie review show, the most whatever, why am I forgetting the name of that amazing show on YouTube? But it's the most 90s ever. The backing dancers in giant colored suits. It looks like a Color Me Bad video. And Akshay's dancing his heart out, and the kind of femme fatale vixen or vamp type character, she's amazing in it with the little sunglasses and a bodysuit and big jeans. It is
and the hair.
Oh, so much amazing hair in this film. I love everything about this song. I watched it. I paused the movie and rewatched the song again.
So
that's how much I
this
liked
song
it.
was popular when
I can see why.
in like junior college and stuff. It was very, very popular. And I feel like this was kind of the only song from Himalay Putra that had become like a big hit.
Yeah.
Um, but I had never actually seen this video. And when I watched it, I was astounded. I agree with you. I feel like whoever wrote this story and made this movie basically had like a big giant Excel sheet in front of them. And they had
Yes.
all of these bullet points. And they were like,
Yes.
okay, he's a hero, we're gonna have him do this. Also, he's gotta be a mama's boy. Also, he has to have daddy issues. Also, he has to be like, has this very, very strange relationship with a deity. Like, have you heard that joke where I love this joke. Someone once said, how do you know the difference between like a religious person and an insane person? And I was like, is
Mhm.
there a difference? Um, and the joke says, a religious person talks to God, an insane person expects God to respond to him.
Oh, yeah. Then this person is both.
This person is there for both because he does expect this ginormous
Yeah.
statue of Shivji, which I don't know where it is. He's clambering over the statue, he's hiking over the statue, he's rappelling down the statue. I was like, where's this statue? And why are people letting you do these things? But anyway, he fully expects this statue to come to life and like give him some pearls of wisdom. So within the first 10 minutes of this movie, I had decided that this character is very much insane. Um,
That would explain a lot. Yeah.
it does explain a lot of his choices in this movie. And it's just such a hodgepodge and a mishmash of every single thing.
Mhm.
And I expected to hate it. And yet I
It works.
enjoyed it.
It works. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. And I was trying very hard to say, is this just because you love Akshay Khanna and
Fair
Vinod
point.
Khanna so much? And I thought, well, quite possibly, but even if I try to put that aside, I feel like this movie's firing on most cylinders most of the time. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
it's kind of
Vinod made it
entertaining.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
like, I love the scenes that, like, Vinod and Akshay are together, and they're
Yeah.
kind of because like, you can see like, I mean, Akshay Khanna looks exactly like his
So much like his
father.
dad. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so cool to kind of, like, see that
Yeah.
resemblance, and you can
Yeah.
see how Vinod Khanna just looks so pleased to have his
Oh,
son in the
yeah.
same frame,
Yeah.
and they just have this wonderful, like, palpable chemistry, and then
They're
it made me
cute.
sad that I've never seen Vinod and Rahul together.
I
Because
know.
I think
I
that would be
know.
cool too. Because
Mhm.
as you know, one of my favorite movies is Apne, and the reason I love it so much is because you have all three deos together, and it's just
Mhm.
like it's wonderful.
Mhm.
Um, this movie was shockingly enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you love that he is a gymnast? But what I love about it most, other than that there's just random shots of him in a giant arena doing gymnast things, is that then when partway through the film he gets in a big fight at a warehouse, it's actually earned that he can like leap to a chain and swing.
Yeah,
Relatively earned. Like
yeah,
there's actually a fair amount of logic in this film cranked up to 11, right? With giant
yeah,
Shiv statues and flings
yes.
and attempted gang rape and like all the, well, 90s, just 90s things,
It's 90.
just 70s, 80s, 90s masala things. But there's a fair amount of internal logic to this film that I think a lot of the films that we kind of say are formulaic and whatever, I think a lot of them have it actually, but I was really looking for it here because I was like, he's a gymnast? Like, I just kept having to catch myself with like, oh my gosh, this thing is happening. Now that thing is happening. Like now we have here heroine taking a bubble bath
Mhm.
and hero is in his house at night, like clutching his pillow
Yeah.
dreamily slash
Very
lustfully.
Vakt vibes.
Yeah, very Vakt vibes, but again, a little saucier because it's the 90s. And
Yes.
um, yes, we have synthol placement and you know,
I was
I don't
waiting for a
know.
horse. I was sad there was no
No
horse.
horse, but otherwise, well, we have a mountain climbing scene instead
Yes, we have rappelling, we have all of those things too.
in
Yeah.
like little shorts.
Yes. Oh my God. He was wearing. So let us talk about the fashion for a second.
Yeah,
I very much, as a Gen Xer, enjoyed the fashions.
A plus.
I love the oversized shirts, and our very last
Hmm.
episode was Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na, and I loved Shah Rukh's
Yeah, yeah,
oversized shirts with that as well. So I loved his outfits in this.
yeah.
They were very dated, and yet they looked very good on him.
But also
Um,
some of this is back in now, especially with the women
yeah,
we're wearing. I felt like I was like, oh, the college kids on my campus dress a lot like this,
yeah.
actually.
He did. I do have a very strong positive opinion about his short shorts. His short shorts were very, very short. to the
Quite
point
short.
that there was a wardrobe malfunction waiting to happen, and I was
Oh,
waiting for it to happen, but it didn't happen, which is
did
sad.
not
It's probably
happen.
on an editing table somewhere.
Mm,
Um, Also, I did not know that he had such beautiful hair. I had no idea. It's
lovely.
kind of a shame, isn't it? Because he has these beautiful like zulfe in this
Yeah,
movie, and I've never thought
yeah.
of Vinod Khanna even in his prime as having beautiful hair.
Mm,
Like that's just a very specific
yeah.
category. Farouk Sheikh, beautiful hair. Vinod Khanna, not so much.
Mm,
But Akshay Khanna in this movie very much has like
the
a mane,
waves.
and he
Yeah.
has these adorable like cowlicks and stuff.
Yeah.
And then he has the dimples, and he
Oh,
has
the
the sick
dimples are
eyes.
killer.
Oh my God, I
Yeah,
screenshotted so many pictures and
he's
I was like
beautiful.
WhatsApping them to you. And I was like, wow, he is very beautiful in this movie. Like
Mm-hmm.
he's in his prime.
Mm-hmm.
I like his fashions. I like his sneakers. I also
Mm-hmm.
like his very melodramatic things that he says to
Everything.
Shivji. They're very strange, but I weirdly appreciate them. Um,
Did you love that he somehow carries one of those giant religious fervor songs with like the oversized drums and
I
all the
forwarded
dancers and
it.
like
It was very
it
strange.
it did feel like it was from a slightly different. I associate those with the 70s. Maybe that's because
Yeah.
that's the bulk of my watching, but I did not expect a song like that, and I did not expect him to have to carry it. And yet I feel like basically he did. And I don't think anyone's out there saying, "Oh, Akshay Khanna, the best dancer,"
Right.
but again, holding his own way better than I guess I would have thought he did.
Yeah.
Like I've always thought he's fine as a dancer, as
Mm.
stated, I am no expert, but I really thought they put a lot on him and he carried it off fairly well.
I've always thought of Akshay Khanna as being a terrible dancer, also Vinod Khanna, and I was shook at how good he was in
Yeah.
this I Am a Bachelor song.
Yeah.
Like he has some very like jumpy aerobics, gymnastics, dancing, kind of like
Oh,
what, yeah,
yeah.
like the
You can't
stuff
quite
that
see it
Shah
here, but
Rukh.
there's a lot of jumping. Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit of like Shah Rukh in what is that song Koi Mil Gaya
Uh-huh.
from Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. Like it's
Yeah.
very gymnastics
Yeah.
dancing, and he actually does that very well, and he's very
Yeah.
nimble. And I'm like, who are you? I did
I
not know you could dance.
I don't I would posit, I suspect that this is fairly hip hop or
Mm,
R&B influenced in a way, and
mm.
that somehow this is working really well for what he can do.
Yeah,
Because
because
he's
I
good
feel
in
like this is,
Koi Kahe from Dil Chata Hai, right? Which also
yeah.
has a lot of like groups of dudes doing high energy things. And
Hmm.
it's not necessarily footwork necessarily, but there's a lot of movement going on and he's pulling it
Yeah.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, okay, so anytime I'm critiquing someone's dancing, again, I am no dancer. I'm just a person who watches movies and loves dance. But anytime I'm thinking about someone dancing, I'm always thinking of them in these like high energy numbers, right? Like the one
Yeah.
behind you. I
Yeah.
never give credit or even think about the sort of like romantic numbers where they're not
Mhm.
really dancing. They're just like
Yeah.
swaying around and
Yeah.
holding the girl or whatever.
Yeah.
However, having seen Sultanat recently and seeing how absolutely horrific Karan Kapoor was in simple scenes where he just had to
Yeah.
like hold Juhi Chawla and twirl her, and he couldn't even manage that. I will give Akshay Khanna credit now for the romantic numbers with
Yeah.
Angela Zaveri, like
Yeah.
"Tune Kaisa Jadoo Kiya Hai" or whatever. Like I
Mhm.
was like, okay, so there is some
Mhm.
effort involved even in that, and he did that
Mhm.
well also. He really came across as very like hero
Oh yeah.
in this movie. He
Yeah.
did really well too. Like he really held his own in the emotional scenes he has with Hema Malini. They had
Mhm.
a really good chemistry, I thought.
Mhm.
She looked very beautiful in this film. Um, I did have a question though, which I WhatsApped you, and this is not has nothing to do with Akshay Khanna. Why is the woman always so low energy? Like she's
Yeah,
always,
this might be the lowest energy I can remember her seeming. When you pointed that out, I was like, oh yeah, she does seem like she's kind of under the weather or
yeah. Like
tired.
she feels like she just woke up from a nap
Yeah.
perennially, but she
Well,
looks stunning.
I mean, if your dad was Amrish Puri, who,
Mm,
when you tell him who your love interest is
mm.
and that you're going to be a mother, and he has an eye bulging heart attack that is honestly one for the great deaths book, you're probably exhausted for life.
Yeah.
Because you're at least what, like 22, 24, something like that when your dad, but like you've already had 2 decades of this. Like I blame
You're so
dad.
over it at this
Yeah,
point.
like
You're
it's gonna
just
take you the
like,
rest of your life to recover.
that is a fair point. That is
Yeah.
a logical
He's
point. But
exhausting, I'm
yeah,
sure.
it was just weird though, because like in their scenes together, Akshay Khanna is very like perky.
Yeah.
And he's very like la la la,
Yeah.
and then she's just kind of like and she's not quite like Nirpa Roy Lavis,
No.
which I appreciated.
No.
She's not like whiny and despondent
No.
all the time. She's like fairly cheerful and stuff. I would say she's just so low energy, but this is just a Hema Mali. There's just Hema things, I think.
Should we do a little plot summary for people who haven't seen this movie?
Yes, and I have a wonderful sentence that I have filched
Oh,
from
yes.
Wikipedia that I have to read out because it is so melodramatic. Okay,
So let
so
me
the
do
line is
oh, go for it. Go for it.
Himalay Putra, the son of the Himalayas,
Mm.
starts with the love story of Suraj, Vinod Khanna, and Seema, Hema Malini, and the immortal wall of disparity of status standing between themselves and their union. I want this on a t shirt. The immortal wall of disparity of status, Beth.
Yeah. I mean, since I didn't have subtitles, I can't speak too knowledgeably about it, but I and when they say this movie starts with, they are not kidding. And the film opens with him walking into her parents' house. I don't know what he says exactly. He's in
He
his
has money. He has sold his property and his home
okay.
and liquidated it into cash for
Okay.
Amrish Puri so that somehow Amrish Puri will allow him to marry Hema Malini, which I was like, you
So
have
he's
the thickest love
buying a
cash.
wife, I guess.
Yes. Yeah,
And
from Amrish, so that
is he in
tracks.
his uniform at that point? He is, right?
No, he's in his
No.
civvies.
Okay, he's a cop because of course he is.
Yeah.
Uh, and I so much so that I thought, oh, did I? Because there are uploads of this film of different lengths on YouTube, and the one I watched was a half an hour longer than the other one that I found,
Okay.
which I assumed meant less has been cut from this one. But yet I was still like, what? Wait, what? Like, you don't see them together or anything. He just like strides into the house, and I was so very confused by. I mean, I just rolled with it, obviously, but I'm like, wait, did I miss the setup of their relationship? No, they just don't set it up.
No, they just don't, they just cut to the chase. They're
Yeah.
like, these are two people who love each other and she's pregnant, but he doesn't know it and he wants to marry her. And Amrisha's like, no, you will not. And and then he leaves. And by
Yeah.
the time that Hema tells Amrish Puri that she's actually pregnant, and Amrish actually runs out to stop Vinod Khanna to tell him, turn back. And okay, fine, you can marry my daughter because she's going to be an unbed mom or whatever.
She doesn't tell him, a
He has
doctor
a
tells him.
No, she does
Remember?
tell him. No, there's a scene where she says to him, "मैं माँ बनने वाली हूँ,"
I thought
and then
a nurse or a doctor came and said, your
so
daughter
that
is.
person does say it, and then Amrish says to Hema, "What have you done?"
Oh,
And
oh, oh,
then
okay,
she
okay,
says,
yeah,
"Yes, I am going to have a."
okay,
I
yeah,
think she kind of finds out at the same time as he does, kind of. I don't think
right,
she's known for very long.
okay,
Is my point. Yeah.
okay,
One thing I did like about this movie is that, among other things, is that at no point in this movie did they go on and on about like Izzat and
nope,
stuff. She was just very chill about it with her
yep.
son. She was just kind of like, yeah, I loved your dad. I had a baby. Your grandfather died. I didn't know where your dad was. He abandoned me. So I moved up here to our apple farm.
And I somehow have all the money I could ever need.
Yes.
Just orchard things.
I know, just orchard things. And then the orchard is also weirdly being used for smuggling, which again, that's just 90s things.
Yeah,
And then Danny Dinzongpa's son being killed, and then him therefore wanting to kill Vinod Khanna's son is also just 90s things
yeah,
because,
yeah,
this just happens normally in real
yeah,
life, Beth.
yeah,
Every day.
yeah. Well, when you're a criminal and you're criminaling against a police officer played by Vinod Khanna, then this is going to happen.
Yes.
Do you not know what kind of movie you're in? Come on.
Right. It was for being so masala, it was actually very enjoyable to me. And then I have no idea what this Angela Zaveri person is because I've only ever seen her in one other movie in Trimurti.
She was
And
scouted in Britain. Vinod Khanna apparently picked her for this
oh,
film from a pool in Britain somehow.
her hair has more personality than she does.
She was very, so we were saying in the Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na episode about Juhi Chawla light, and I felt like she was
Mm.
very light in a sort of loosely Juhi or Sri Devi-y sort of mold, which
Yeah, or
is,
Divya Bharti-ish.
yeah, like I don't have anything against it, but she did not leave much of an impression. But I thought she was pretty.
Yeah.
I loved her big 90s hair. that character and that performance did not really. But,
Didn't really
yeah, it's your
register.
debut film, but it's not about you, honey. It's about the
Right.
producer's son,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
It's very kahona pyar hai-ish in that sense, where it's like, if you can
Right,
make a mark for yourself, congratulations, good for
right.
you, but you're not going to get any kind of backing whatsoever.
No.
So just do the best you can and like
Yeah,
call it a day.
yeah.
I'm surprised.
But
Well,
can you imagine, like, how good this would have been with Urmila Matondkar or somebody like that in it? And
yes.
maybe Akshay couldn't have quite stood up to someone like that, his first film
Mm,
out, but, like, someone with a little more juice would have been.
yeah.
And again, the
Someone
role
with,
is not
um,
great, but, like,
yeah.
I kept thinking about her partly because of the hair.
But there's also the time honored tradition of when you are launching your filmy son, you're gonna launch them opposite a new person.
Sure,
So then they
sure.
wouldn't have picked like
Yeah,
Urmila or anyone like that. They would
yeah.
have wanted it to like they would have wanted to sow the seeds of like a new hit
New
Jodi or
pair.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, they could have probably done better than her, but also she was so immaterial
Yeah,
to the
she doesn't really
movie.
matter.
Yeah. I did like the whole like dad and son kind of like a
Mm.
thing that they had going on. Apparently this movie is kind of ripped off from a movie called Cliffhanger. I have never heard of this film.
Oh, I have
I
heard
do
of
not know
that
what
film,
it
but I've
is.
never seen it.
You have?
I
Okay.
have, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
That
But
surprises me, but, but I haven't seen it, so.
I do think that it's an interesting I think it was a smart debut choice, the script,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
it gave Akshay an opportunity to do all the things a hero is supposed to do. He
Yeah,
really held his own in the
yeah,
emotional scenes. He held
yep.
his own in the scenes where he is really mad at Vinod Khanna because he thinks that Vinod Khanna abandoned him and stuff. So he
Yeah,
held his own in those. It takes a lot of talent to be able to stand up to Danny Denzongpa in a
it
scene
does. Who
because
is
that man has
under
charisma.
he is underused in this film, I would
He is
say.
underused
And
in this
then I
film.
thought, well, maybe the version I'm watching has cut some of his scenes, but I felt like
Mm.
they didn't make full use of him.
He just kind of like stands around and glowers and
Yeah, he doesn't
stuff.
get to do much, though he
Yeah.
does, it's a hot air balloon at the end. It
Yes.
is, right? And having just watched season 3 of Bridgerton, I was like, "Oh, hot air balloon, I love it. Love it."
There is a great acrobatic sequence where Akshay
Mhm.
Khanna, being the great gymnast that he is, being like Tiger Shroff. He's Tiger
Yeah,
Shroffing when
very
Tiger
much,
Shroff was
very
not even
much.
conceived yet. But
Yeah.
he basically like jumps off of a thing and hangs onto the hot air balloon. And I was like, wow, okay, all
And
right.
manages to, like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Um,
it's pretty ridiculous and fun.
I'm actually shocked that Amrish Puri is like introduced and killed off in the first 5 minutes of the film. I
But
was
then
like,
then there's a
really?
flashback with him at least.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
yeah,
still,
no,
like,
I believe it was friendly appearance or something, right? Like, he's not,
ah.
or cameo or something. It's not, you could tell from the titles it wasn't gonna be much, I think, if
Mm.
I remember right, but
The problem with Bollywood films is that if anyone ever actually has a stroke or a heart attack in front of me, I will never know that they're having a stroke or heart attack because in Bollywood films, anytime someone has a stroke, their entire body convulses and like
Mhm.
shape shifts almost. They look like they're going to shapeshift into a werewolf. And it's so dramatic. And there's so much clutching and grabbing and falling that's happening that if someone actually had a stroke in front of me, I'd just be like, oh, it's just a nervous tick or something. So, yeah, but I thought Akshay did a really good job in this.
Mhm.
Now, you have seen 1947 Earth, but a long time ago?
Long time ago, yeah, I unfortunately don't remember it well. I started to rewatch it yesterday, and it was just I couldn't get the stream to actually
Mm,
behave, so I saw the first 10 minutes or so, but that's
yeah.
it.
I
I did not
watched
get to Rahul.
1947 Earth yesterday, and it was just so gripping as always. Like, it's such a good
Yeah,
movie, but it's not a movie that one wants to watch over and over. And having it was really weird because going into this episode project, I went in thinking to myself that Rahul Khanna's debut was a smarter choice than Akshay Khanna's because the boys debuted 2 years apart from each other,
right.
right?
And
And the
have there
younger one debuted earlier.
ever been 2 more different debuts among brothers or siblings? Like,
Right. And I thought to
wow.
myself, well, obviously, it is smarter to debut with a film with a director like Deepa Mehta, and it's an ensemble cast and
Mm-mm-mm.
everything, and it's such a good story, and it's so juicy. That is clearly the better choice rather than this very 90s masala Himalay Putra. And after watching 1947 Earth, I was like, that was a bad choice. Bad choice because you do not even notice Rahul Khanna because
Mm,
Amir Khan is looming in every scene and
yeah.
Amir just kills it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
not
can
even
see
an Amir
that.
Khan fan, and Amir is so phenomenal in this film. Like, he's
Yeah.
such a good actor. He's so nuanced. He has the best lines. He has, I mean,
Mm,
the movie is based on the book Ice Candy Man. So, he is the most important character
yeah.
in this film, and he is so phenomenal. Rahul Khanna is just like a shadow, a nobody in front of him. Also, his role is wafer thin. All I know is he plays a guy
Yeah.
called Hassan, and he's a malishwala, and he's
Yeah.
one of the people who's interested in Nandita Das's character, and she chooses him over Dil Nawaz, who is played by Amir Khan, which is what leads to the terrible things that happen later in the film. And I know nothing about
Yeah.
Hassan, nothing. Wafer thin character, and honestly, he does not do a good job. He's actually kind of bad.
Oh,
And I was shook. And I was like, no, he should have tried to go for that big hero debut film that Akshay did. But maybe he thought, or maybe Vinod Khanna thought that Rahul Khanna was too like niche in some way to ever be like a proper like hero. But I don't know why they would think that, because he's also very conventionally handsome, and I mean, I feel like he could have made it as well. So
so did you ever see him as a VJ? Because I, of course, have not.
yes.
Okay, so
Mhm.
how was he in that setting?
He was wonderful
Okay.
because he was very engaging, very charming. I remember those days of like Channel V and MTV when you
Yeah.
had Shenaz Treasurywala and him and all of these people, and he was lovely. He was just super engaging, and he still does these kind of like emceeing gigs.
Hmm.
He also did like a show on Discovery. He has a wonderful personality, and he's clearly far more talkative and
Yeah.
interested in people than
Yeah.
Akshay is. I cannot imagine Akshay as a VJ. He would just be
No,
tongue tied, I feel like.
no.
But Rahul Khanna was adorable. I used to watch his show just because I liked him so much. He was so easy on the eye. And
Yeah.
he was just very like smooth and just very suave. And he never tried too hard. So he
Yeah.
was lovely.
As you were talking, somehow something clicked for me, which is that uh to contrast the brothers, Akshay, I think, is a very good actor, even though he's
Mm,
been in kind of a weird array of stuff, but I think he's very good in some of it. But Rahul is a self-scripted person, right? Like, he
yes.
does better when he is in charge of his own content. Never could be a more clear example than his, Twitter and Instagram presence, which
Yes.
have been, um, I don't know if they're the most influential part of his career, but they must be two and three behind being a VJ if they are not, in fact, one and two.
I
And
mean, his thirst traps are legendary.
legendary. And they may be somewhat niche, but it's a big niche. Like, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people in that niche at this point. Like, it's just, and so much so that I regularly show them to people who are not Bollywood knowledgeable at all. And they're like,
Mhm.
who's that? And I'm like, yeah, I have DM'd with him. And they're like, no.
I have slid into his DMs and he has replied back. Um,
Just as charming in the DM as you assume he will be. So he's got the
I
gift.
just I wonder if he was even interested in acting, to be honest. But the weird thing is that he's the brother who actually went to acting school. He went to
Right.
like the Lee Strasberg
That's
school
right.
or whatever,
Hmm.
and actually I never did.
Hmm.
But neither of these brothers seem to have been like 80s or anything like that, which is like a very time honored tradition. Like, you either
Right.
go to acting school or you become an assistant director. I just get the feeling that neither of the brothers had a ton of drive. Um, because to be like a star, you need drive more than
Yeah.
anything
I
else.
think
Like, you
I
actually
just
don't even need that much talent. Like,
I
talent
just
is great, but
I
you
just
don't need it.
assume they're not interested.
Yeah.
Um, and that they are, of any celebrity in Hindi cinema world I can think of, they seem to be doing exactly what they want.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know if that's true, but that's the impression I get, particularly Rahul, because he is so, the things he puts out are so self-scripted. But
Yeah.
Akshay kind of comes and goes. He pops up in Drishyam too, for example, which I would like to
Hmm.
see. I heard he was good. That he does things like, his weird little, like, shouldn't say weird, his turn as the villain, quote unquote, and Aja Nachle. Like, I love that. It's such
Yeah.
a fun little thing. So I'm hoping, I hope they're both happy. And they, again, the lock that they have on their social media presences and absences, right, is also very
Hmm.
impressive. Like, Akshay seems not to care at all. And that's very rare. Now he is, he's Gen X, he's just a smidge younger than I am, but so maybe it's easier, as Rahul, of course, is older, so he's also Gen X. Maybe they are enough of the like, don't care.
Yeah.
But they don't do, for example, what their age peer Abhishek Bachchan does.
Right.
They also, Seth also kind of falls into this pool of like, I just do, my persona
Yeah.
is not particularly um what's the word? Like, I don't see a lot of begging.
Yeah.
And I feel like so many people are really begging for attention. Now,
They
Rahul, a
seem very
little bit, but in a very
secure.
funny way, like it's in a self-deprecating way, I think. So
Yeah.
yeah, they seem very secure, or we can at least assume that by their not proving otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if this is kind of like a family streak in a way, because Vinod
Mhm.
Khanna is probably most famous for the fact that he was Amitabh Bachchan's greatest competition
Yeah.
and the only one who could have toppled Amitabh Bachchan from
Mhm.
his like position. And he just like chucked it all
Up
and
and left.
wore orange and became a sannyasi and stuff like that. And then he came back and then he kind of had a career again and then he became a politician. And it's just very much this sort of I don't want to use the word maverick, but kind of a little bit unpredictable maybe,
Yeah.
or people who just sort of like listen to their own you know
Yeah, and that they have
thing.
some other values that are, and obviously a lot of actors become politicians, but there's something about the fact that he, obviously leaving the industry for as long as he did and then coming back really indicates it's very, very different.
Yeah, and I've seen interviews of Vinod Khanna where he has basically spoken about how he has absolutely no regrets whatsoever.
Mm,
Because, like, he left when he was at his peak and his
absolutely.
peak
Yeah.
years, and then he threw those years away on, like, whatever his exploration of religion and spirituality or whatever
Hmm.
was. And then by the time he came back, the industry had essentially moved on without him. Like, they're not going to wait around for you to come back, right?
Right.
But he doesn't seem to have any regrets about that. So I think it kind of like runs in the family where they're kind of, I
Yeah.
mean, of course you also need tremendous amounts of privilege
Yes.
for that.
Yes.
um but there's other people in the film industry that clearly have privilege, but they very much do seem like they're hankering for recognition and stuff like that, which I find interesting. There's an aura of mystique that these two brothers have.
I agree. I agree. And that again is coming a little bit from the dad who was, to vanish for is it 6 years, 7 years, something like
Something
that,
like that.
when it would have been in an era harder to get information about people like that. That takes some doing.
Hmm.
I because Rahul Khanna has been so nice to me, I don't want to say, I don't want to go too speculative here, but because he seems like a real person to me more than any other celebrity
Right.
does. But there's a divorce in there somewhere, having a dad who makes the huge career change and goes to the other side of the world. That surely
Hmm.
is not easy. So
Right.
I don't know what these boys, when they were boys, went through. They would have been approximately what, like 6 and 9 or something
Very
like that,
little.
like little ones. Um, can have been easy. So I don't know what that has done to their sense of being famous, being a celebrity, having a persona versus from your actual personality. I don't know, but they've had a different view of this than anybody else has
Hmm.
had.
And yet they've also never really spoken about it, so it's all kind of
Yeah,
like,
not that I know of.
yeah, it's interesting. um I want to talk a little bit about Akshay Khanna's filmography because it is
Yes.
so puzzling.
It is,
so
isn't
he
it? I have it open
starts
in front
off
of me.
so he starts off with Himalay Putra. The film did not do well, but he was appreciated. Then he comes out with Border, which I have seen, and he did do well, and it was a hit, and he was appreciated.
Would you
Then he
recommend
does Tal.
Border? I have not seen
The thing
Border.
with Border is it's very long.
Okay.
And it really needed a firm hand with the editing. And when films are really long
Mm,
and they go on forever and they have background music that goes on forever, like it's a JP Datta film, so it is
right.
a saga to sit through. So if I would recommend, about Border is actually good. I do like the movie, but I would say the only way you will be able to watch Border is if you break it up into like three parts and watch them over
This
a few days.
cast,
Yeah,
Sunny Deol, Jackie Shroff, Sunil
it's
Shetty,
massive.
Puneet Isar, Kubushan Karbanda, Tabu, Rocky. Like,
Yeah.
boy, that's a lot.
No, it's a long movie and it feels really long. And
Okay.
so if you want to watch it, you're going to have to divvy it up. Watch it over like
Yeah.
3 nights or something like that. It's long. Um so okay, so then he does Border, then he does Tal,
Well,
and
but you've
he
missed a couple in there. So there's like Mohabbat
oh,
with Madhuri.
oh God, that
There's
movie's terrible.
Doli Saja Ke Rakhna with
Jyotika.
Jyotika, which I think is really cute, and he is very
Yeah.
pretty in it. Like that's a cute one. You should definitely watch it. There's
Yes.
that lovely song in Greece.
Yes. Kissa Hum
There's
Likhenge.
Kudrat, which I have seen.
I've never heard of this movie. It's with
Wait a
Urmila, right?
minute. It is with Urmila. Am I getting this one confused with something else? No, I have seen that one.
Okay.
And then there's Ablaut Chalain with
Oh God.
Ashwarya, which is not good, as I
No.
recall.
But I like
And then we,
Tal.
yeah, Tall was the fourth Indian film I ever saw, and I got to see it on the big screen at Roger
At
Ebert's
the
Film
Ebert.
Festival. Yeah. So I mean, you talk about razzle dazzle. Wow.
Yeah.
And I still love it, partly because I always will think of that when I watch, but I've rewatched it several times and I think it holds up beautifully. And curiously, I think the weak link in that film is Anil Kapoor, who I think is overdoing it by about 300%.
He is
Um,
so enormously hammy in that movie.
he's
Like
so
I
hammy.
usually like Anil Kapoor, but
I
he's
do too.
terrible.
No, it's not good. But the music in that is just
Yes.
unstoppable. And because the film is a musical in that it is about a musician, like the songs
Mm-hmm.
integrate so beautifully and they are so key to appreciating the whole thing. Like, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you haven't rewatched it in a while, or if somehow you've never seen it and you are listening to this podcast, please watch it immediately. It is wonderful. He probably could be played by anyone, Akshaye's character, but I think he's good.
Yeah, he's
He's
fine,
not the
but to
point.
me, that movie belongs to Aishwarya.
Yeah.
And she is so magnificent and she is so luminous in this movie that you don't really notice
Mm.
anyone and you don't want to see anyone.
What
I
is
do like
the
him in
oh,
that song. The I love that song. It's in the rain
that
and
I
he's
was
on
about
his
to ask?
roller
I
skates.
love that. Yeah,
It's
so like the
beautiful.
roller skating
Nahi
and like
samne ye Allah baat
posing in the
hai.
wind with like it's very balletic
Yeah,
or something. Like I
yeah.
think that song's very interesting.
And
And again,
it's very sweeping and
yeah,
epic.
and like here's this guy who no one talks about as having a presence in songs, actually holding really well an emotional center in that song. I think he deserves
Hmm.
more credit for that. It's now obviously the music is beautiful, but you can have a beautiful song that fails as a picturization,
Oh
but this
yeah,
this does not. I mean, none of the songs
right.
fail as a picturization in this film. They're all top of the game. Just
Yeah.
great.
But he's also very good in another song, which I would say my favorite Akshay Khanna performance and my favorite Akshay Khanna movie would be Dil Chahta Hai.
Of
And
course.
I love him in Tanhai in that song. There's the
Which one is that?
bubbles.
Oh, the bubbles.
It's the sad song. It's like
Yeah.
it's he's wearing white and he's
Yeah.
very sad and it has this surreal aspect to
Yeah.
it. It's like
Artist
dreamlike.
imagination. Yeah.
Yeah, there's like a dreaminess to that, and he does very well in that too. I mean, he's great with his like micro expressions.
Yeah.
No one looks cuter sad than he
He's very
does.
good at being sad. I love that character. I've written an extensive essay about
Yeah,
how much I like that character. For me, it's the club song with all three of them together. I think they're
yeah.
really fun. But yeah, I read something I did not know, which is that Farhan Akhtar was an AD on Himalay Putra,
Mm.
and that's how he met Akshay, and that's why Akshay is in Dil Chahta Hai.
I had absolutely no idea that Farhan was an AD on this film.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
interesting, isn't it? So I'm like, well, even if Himalay Putra did nothing else, at least it led to Dil Chahta Hai in a way, in the way that it was. So that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah, and then
So,
got these kind of thrillers like Humraz and Divangi, and then of course he has a little cameo in Bollywood Hollywood, his brother's film where he
mhm.
plays himself, which is super cute, or a version of himself.
Wasn't he in that Chinatown movie,
36
36
Chinatown, yeah.
Chinatown? Yeah.
And I believe I don't actually know that that's his first film as a cop, but I think Akshay Khanna brings very solid cop energy to things.
Yes.
Partly we know he's got it in the genes, but he can do it. And I would be very happy if he likes doing that, then let's put him in more of those. Like he's in the movie with Sonakshi, Ittifaq with
Mm.
Sonakshi and Siddharth, which is good at that. So
He brings good attorney energy also.
Yes.
He's kind of in that Shashi Kapoor mold where he can play professionals really well. Like, give
Yeah.
him a uniform, like he's in a uniform and border, he's an army
Yeah.
officer. He does those kind of like straight and narrow, we do it by the books kind of, but then of course in Dil Chahta Hai, he's like an artist and he's fine in that too.
I think
Not an artist, but
the weirdest in his filmography is that he play a movie star in Tismar Khan?
I have not seen these, Khan.
Oh yeah, he's one of the other movie stars, which I think is really funny. And then in Dishum, which is a film that I also really like, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, he's a bit of a bad guy in in Dishum, if I recall. And I really enjoyed that film. Like,
Hmm.
that's a duo that I would love to see again. Like, I think that John Abraham is sort of like more scowly, senior, serious officer with Varun as his like more wackadoodle sidekick is a good
I've not
pairing.
seen this
So
movie either.
yeah,
But
he's
then
not
did he also do these very, very like trashy kind of movies? Like, isn't he in No Entry? And then he's
he's
in the
not in no
race movies
he's
and
not in No Entry,
Welcome.
but he is in the first race movie.
Okay.
Um he's in Gandhi, My
Hamshik?
Father, right? As one of Gandhi's kids. That's a weird one. He's one of the
Yeah.
couples in Salami Ishq.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
he's got a couple of just sort of basic rom-coms like Aap Ki Khatir in there. Mere Baap
It's such
Pehle
a.
Aap, which I have not managed to make it all the way
I've
through.
never even heard of that movie.
I've only
Um,
heard of it because I love Akshay Khanna, so
okay.
I don't know that there's a reason you would need to see.
But look at but I mean, think about the filmography from
It's
the point
weird.
of view of
It's weird.
like, of, this is not the word, this is not the correct word, but in terms of like fanciness, in terms of
Mm,
prestige, right?
right.
You're doing a movie like Tal, which is
Yeah.
kind of the most you can get
Yeah.
in terms of like, it's a Subhash Ghai film, it's a
Right.
giant musical. There's Aishwarya Rai opposite you. Then there's Aab Lochale, which terrible movie, but it is still
It's an
RK
arcade.
Studios, so it's still an RK production. But then he starts doing these very strange movies, and it's like
Yeah.
for a nepo kid and
Yeah.
the son of Vinod Khanna, it's shocking that you don't have him in Yash Raj films. You don't have him in Therma Productions. Like, you don't have these like gigantic A-list banners signing him in his movies. So I just find that a little bit surprising. I mean, I think Salami Ishq might be YRF perhaps, but it's not like a Yash Chopra directed one. So it's kind of interesting to me. He's done a lot of kind of almost
Oh, and he's in
B-ish.
Mom with Sri Devi. That's another one where I believe he's the cop in that as well.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's a weird filmography. Very weird.
it's just weird. And I was thinking about this because after watching Himalaya Putra, I was like, why did this guy not make it big? You know, you never hear anyone say, oh, I love Akshay Khanna. Oh, he's one of my favorite actors. You just don't. Most people, when you ask them who their favorite stars are, they're going to name one of the Khans, right? It's going
Yeah.
to be Shah Rukh Khan or Amir Khan or Salman Khan. Occasionally, they're going to say Saif Ali Khan. And if they like older movies, they're going to say like Shashi Kapoor or something. It's these standard answers that you get. No one ever mentions Vinod Khanna, and no one ever
Yeah.
mentions, well, of course, and lots of people say Amitabh Bachchan, but like no one ever mentions Akshay Khanna. And I was like, why didn't he make it big? And then I realized, look at the time when he debuted.
Yeah.
Look at the gigantic competition. You debut in 97. Shah Rukh
Yeah.
is already on his way up. Shah Rukh has
Yeah.
already, like DDLJ came out right before that or soon after that or something. Like the 90s was just dominated by the Khans. They were all top of their, like, they were getting to the top of their game. And then in 2000, Hrithik Roshan
And
achieves.
Abhishek is in there too, right? So
Abhishek
like,
and Hrithik both debuted in
yeah.
2000 with like Kahuna Pyar Kiya and Refugee, but Hrithik Roshan became a gigantic overnight superstar with Kahuna Pyar Kiya.
Yeah.
It was game over.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah.
single girl I knew had Hrithik Roshan posters in her house. It was just, that was it. You couldn't out act him. You couldn't out beauty him. You couldn't, I don't think out beauty is a verb, but I have just coined it. You
No.
couldn't out dance him.
No.
There was nothing you could
Yeah.
do. It was like Hrithik Roshan comes on the scene. It's time for you to leave.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I think that Akshay also, in what I have seen, is okay as a romantic lead, but he's not
mm,
notable as a love interest.
right.
or at least I have yet to see him with exactly the right pairing in terms of a romantic Jodie. So I also wonder if that, like, honestly, I think I might love him most with Madhuri in that
in
little
Mohabbat.
bit in it. Well, no, in
Yeah.
which I haven't seen other than the songs.
Oh.
In
Oh, in Ajan
Ajan
Nachle.
Nachle, right? Like they've just got like a cute, like
Yeah.
I actually kind of like him with the women who are older than he is. So like his chemistry with
Mm-mm.
Sri Devi is good, and his chemistry with Dimple is good.
Yeah.
So maybe he needs, and that's never going to fly very far in mainstream
Right.
Hindi films. So
Maybe he needs the cougars.
yeah, I mean, like put the man with Rekha and see what happens.
Yes.
And then, of course, like unfortunately, he starts to lose his hair, and
Yes.
like it just sucks. But I think that's probably an actual factor. And I don't know if he
Yeah.
felt self-conscious and didn't put himself forward for as many films, or told his people to not put him forward, or people stopped calling him, or what. But it's pretty fast after his debut, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
so I suspect there may be either insecurity or judgment about that.
Hmm. But I think that also brings me again to my point of like sort of a lack of drive or ambition, because he would not be
Mm,
the first actor who
yeah.
started losing his hair early. Salman Khan has been getting his hair
Uh,
weaving treatments done in like London or whatever since the beginning of time.
mhm,
Ranbir
mhm,
Kapoor reportedly has,
mm,
like when he's not shooting whatever, he wears a bandana because he also has done like the whole hair weaving thing. I mean, kind of it is part of it is just, if you want to be a hero, you do need to look a certain way. And if you're balding, you either need to like suck it up and start wearing like wigs and things like that, or you gotta immediately go to the hair places and do the
mm,
weaving thing. And if you're not willing to do that, then the offers are gonna dry up unless you
yeah.
want to be like the supporting roles and stuff like that. Like you
And so
can be an actor, but you can't be a
yeah.
hero.
And I'm hoping, he will be 50 next year, which is
Mm,
shocking to me somehow, even though I myself am 50. So that math is going to math. But I'm really hoping that as he is fully
mm,
middle aged, like maybe some interesting things will come his way that he wants to
yeah.
do. Also, his brother is more than making up for it.
Yeah.
So if there was a void for Khanna, you know,
I don't
uh,
understand how Rahul Khanna, despite being 52 years old, looks nothing like that. First of all, I think he's a vampire. And secondly, he's actually older
yeah,
than Akshay Khanna, but
yeah,
he looks way younger. I don't understand that either.
yeah.
Like, what is happening here? What is going on? Like, why
I don't
isn't
know.
Akshay going to that same plastic surgeon that Rahul Khanna
I
goes
don't
to?
know.
Because he needs to be hooked up with that like cocktail that's happening. Um,
And we
do
know
you
Rahul's
have?
out in the sun because we see him lounging on sun in lounge chairs all
We
the
see his
time.
shirtless pictures.
We know both of them love dogs, which is
Yes.
delightful and very cute. So I don't know. Yeah, the Rahul kind of internet persona is, to my experience, completely unique.
Yes.
I don't feel like there's anybody doing what he's doing in Indian cinema. I cannot speak more
Mhm.
globally than that. And it's fascinating to watch.
He's almost to me like an early influencer. Like he's
Yeah,
been, I hate that word so much, and
I
I
know.
refuse to believe in that as a career or profession. Makes me roll my eyes because I'm Gen X and our generation do not believe in such nonsense. But he was almost like kind of like Akshay Khanna was Tiger Shroffing before Tiger Shroff existed. Rahul Khanna has been influencing when influencers did not exist as an
It's
industry or a
interesting the whole like,
people.
starting as a VJ and then kind of
Yeah.
keeping the like host
Yeah.
persona, like that really helps with that.
Like he's a brand,
Yeah,
but he's not necessarily known as an actor, and his filmography is so
very short.
small.
It's very
It is
short.
tiny, tiny. Like I enjoyed him in Wake Up Said, like
Yep.
he's adorable as like the editor of that newspaper magazine or
Who loves
whatever,
jazz?
who
We're all
loves
like, oh
jazz
no.
and wine. And then he's kind of nubby towards Kankara, which we don't like.
Yeah,
But,
it's very
he's
funny.
really good in that. He's so
Yeah.
like urbane and
Oh,
sophisticated.
so
And
urbane. Yeah.
I do wish almost that the Khanna brothers had debuted in this era rather than when they did, because when they debuted, the competition was super intense. And also roles were not really being written. The thing with both of them is that they're both very like they have that Shashi Kapoor light thing going on where
Yeah.
they're both very urbane and
Yeah.
sophisticated, and
Yeah.
it's very hard to buy them as like, you know, it's, but I think today there are more roles written for people like that, so it's better.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny to me, like when I was watching 1947 Earth, and there's a scene, every scene in which Rahul Khanna is like waiting for someone or waiting for something, he does the squat. Like,
Oh,
it's called
uh-huh.
the Asian squat that
Yeah.
people do, where he sits like that, and he's wearing these like kurta pajamas, like very ordinary looking ones, and he has like I don't know what it's called, like the red checkered scarf,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he just sits on his haunches, and I'm like, boy, I do not buy you.
You should be
You
on a
look,
bespoke
yes,
$10,000 hand
with like a
carved
martini in your
artisanal
hand.
thing. Yeah.
I do not buy you in this kurta pajama, but I do buy Amir Khan in the
I
kurta pajama and the
I
sigma in his eyes.
I think that my favorite Rahul Khanna performance is actually the most recent one, which is in Lost, that sort of political thriller that came
Oh,
out
I have
last
not seen
year.
it.
He
Mm,
plays a politician, a very smooth politician. You're like, oh yeah, that tracks
mm,
really well. Um,
yeah.
so I would recommend that to people if they have not seen it. I forget if it's on Netflix or something like that. I saw it somewhere online, so I would for sure
I
recommend.
think the most recent thing I'd seen Akshay Khanna in was a movie in which he was an attorney, but I don't remember it anymore. He was defending like a
Well,
rape
he's
victim or
he's got a couple
something.
of political, is that Section 375?
Yes. Yeah, I liked him in that. He was really good in that.
I can believe it. Yeah. I need to, I just need to see some more of his stuff. I got to fill in
I
my
think you would like him
filmography.
in Section 375.
Yeah.
His character was very interesting. There were definitely like shades to it.
Hmm.
He was very good. He really like sold it. Um, but I really do kind of wish that these two men had been young and debuted now, because
Yeah.
can you imagine, the competition now is so terrible. There's Kartik Aryan, there's Arjun Kapoor. There's Varun Dhawan, who, like, okay, fine. There's Vicky Kaushal, who is very, very, very talented, but Vicky Kaushal looks a certain way, and to my eyes, he does not look like what a hero is supposed to look
Mm,
like, which is in many ways very good because he can play all sorts of things.
mm.
Like, if he looked very hero-like, he couldn't have done Masan, which is like one of the most amazing movies ever. But if the Khanna brothers had debuted today, can you imagine? They would have been heartthrobs, and their movie
Oh, yeah.
posters would be on all the girls' walls and everything. Because I would rather watch them than Kartik Aryan. But I think they just came at a time when there was just too much competition, and they just didn't have the drive
Or
to make
something.
it to the
Yeah.
top. Yeah,
Something like that. The fact that they are kind of mysterious is also frankly amazing,
yeah.
given the environment that they grew up in, right? Like,
Yeah. I mean, these were industry kids. But
yeah.
again, it doesn't seem like they're close to anyone. Like, I've seen Akshay Khanna's episode. Was he ever on Coffee with Karan? Or I think there was an episode where Karan Johar was talking
He may
about
have been
Akshay
on
Khanna.
once, I feel like. I'm
Maybe.
not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But even Karan Johar talked about how he doesn't show up to any parties. He just kind of does his own
I
thing, and
can't
he's
imagine
very
him having
mysterious.
patience for Coffee with Karen, but
No. I already judge our favorite Shah Rukh for being close friends with Karan Johar because I was like, boy, no. Avoid, yeah. Um,
oh,
do
but
you think that Rahul Khanna perhaps should have tried his luck in Hollywood and maybe tried to do more roles
well, and
over
he is
here?
on The Americans.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
he
has
does
that
have that
arc
role.
on The Americans. Yeah, so I don't know. Again, I really hope that he's doing what he wants to do.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like this is just a sense I have. I feel like this just isn't. I feel like films isn't everything to them, or even
Yeah,
most of anything to
yeah.
them. I think it's a very tiny portion of their life.
Hmm.
And because given the resources they have, given the privilege that they have, given the fact that they come from money, they could very easily produce things for themselves. You don't have to just wait for good parts to come your way. You can also script your own things and stuff like that. But it doesn't seem like they care.
Do they come from money though?
I've heard that they come from like a lot of money because their mother came from like a very, very wealthy family. And it
Okay.
doesn't seem like Vinod Khanna squandered his
Okay.
money or
Because
anything.
since he
It does
left,
seem like they
wasn't
come from.
working for a chunk of years and was under the influence, very likely, of an extremely
Mm.
manipulative, like cult leaders
Mm-hmm.
famously bilk people of all the money they possibly can. Now, I've never
Mm-hmm.
heard that about Vinod Khanna's um Osho experience.
Right.
But one wonders. But okay, if their mother had money,
I've
that's
heard
good.
that their mom's family is very like old
Okay.
money. And it's also always seemed like, again, I know that this could just be a persona, but again, from Rahul Khanna's Instagram, it does not look like these boys are hurting for cash.
It certainly does not look like he is. Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I don't
But
know.
given his filmography, I don't know where that cash was coming from, right?
Right.
So like I just think that they're, a little bit to the manner born,
Mm,
and they can do what they like with it. But it's just like, as someone who thinks that they're both very talented, especially Akshay Khanna, it would be
yeah.
nice to see them do some roles here and there. They don't
Yeah.
necessarily films, but even like OTT, like they could do some streaming stuff.
I think it's really interesting that Akshay seems not to have pivoted to OTT because he seems made for it.
I know.
Like you can do more niche things. They don't have to last forever. They don't get as much like social media nonsense going about them,
Hmm.
generally speaking, as films do. So if you want a lower profile, you could still have a relatively
Yeah.
lower profile. Like, yeah, I don't know. It's pretty fascinating. I don't know what he wants to do.
I don't think I've ever seen Akshay paired with Tabu, but I feel like they would look so amazing together,
Oh, I like that idea. Yeah, I don't know
right?
either.
Because Tabu also has that whole like, I mean, first of all, Tabu is just phenomenal, but also
Yeah.
she has that like mysterious thing going on. Like I loved her so much in Andhadhun. Actually, Tabu was born to play like femme fatales. Like the woman
Yeah.
is just
Yeah.
so stunning.
Yeah.
Can you imagine a movie where like
And he's
she
the
is,
detective and she's the femme
yes,
fatale. Like that would be
exactly.
amazing.
There you go.
Oh,
That's what we
so
need.
good.
You need to DM Rahul Khanna right now, Beth.
That had crossed my mind.
Yes. Actually, you should DM him a link to this episode and be
Yeah,
like, hello.
in case you're interested.
Right. Did you have any parting thoughts on either of the Khanna brothers?
I mean, I love the whole family. I think they're
Yes.
talented. Now I know there's a son by Vinod has a son with his second wife, who I
Hmm.
believe was he in Honeymoon Travels?
Oh,
Or
was he? I
something
have
like
no
that. I feel like
idea.
that so there's a third acting son who I do not have tabs on whatsoever. I not on purpose. I just have never like
A third acting
really,
son. I love it.
I've really gotten my brain around that for whatever reason. Like maybe my heart stops with these three, but I love this family. I think they are
Yeah.
as a whole underrated, or at least as you were saying, like under considered. Because I feel
Hmm.
like most people, when you get them to talk about and maybe not so much Rahul because his filmography is shorter, but when I talk to people about Akshay Khanna, I feel like everybody likes him. But you
Yeah.
have to remind them that he exists and had a career. And Vinod, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, like he's good in Sikandar, um
Right. Or Love Artist or
Muqaddar ka
whatever.
Sikandar or whatever,
Right.
or yeah, but then you're like, oh, but then there's also this and this and this and this. And I'm like, oh yeah, like
I love him in Laken. My favorite
right.
Vinod Khanna
He's
movie is
amazing in Laken.
so
He
good.
comes back in the 80s with some great stuff.
Yeah.
Like so and
You and
he
I
also
still
was
need to watch Rihai, where
right,
him and Hema Malini are paired
right.
together.
And he comes back in, in the 2000s as the dad generation and he's in Dabang, for example, and is good in that.
Mhm.
So, he was doing things up until his premature, well, I don't know if you get to say premature, seemed premature to me. There was a year where Vinod, Sridevi, Tom Alter, and Shashi died within a year of each other, basically, and I don't know how I picked myself up off the floor,
Yeah.
frankly. But yeah, so they once you remind people that they exist, they I feel like everyone has good things to say. I've never heard
Mm.
anyone say they hate as a
Right.
performer any of those people. Um, some people don't really have an impression one way or the other because I don't if you've watched Hindi films at all, I don't know how you don't have some kind of impression of Vinod Khanna because he was
Oh,
around for 40
he was
years,
prolific.
slightly more than 40 years. Yes, there's a gap, but like some of those films were releasing during the gap as well. But I can kind of get how you don't have much of an impression of Akshay if you just happen not to have,
Mhm.
but surely you've seen Dil Chahta Hai, like if nothing else.
Yeah.
Like if you know him for only one film, that's a great film to know him for. He's very good in
Mhm.
it. So Yeah, I don't know. I wish I feel like I do what I can to keep their keep their
Yeah.
name in the Twitterverse anyway, which is where I'm primarily active. But I just hope that they're happy doing whatever it is that they want to do.
Yeah.
If
Yeah,
some of it's
nobody really
photographed,
knows
great.
about their personal life either. It's
No, they
all
have that
very
on
like
lock. It's
they do.
amazing.
I have no
Yeah.
idea. Like they could be married and have like 5 children or
Yeah.
something. We would have absolutely no
It is
idea.
on lock. Yeah.
But I'm thinking about this one comment that you made where you said that you've never heard of anyone like hating him, but then also,
Mm-mm.
but I do think that one of the sort of qualifications for being a star is that some people are going to hate you
Sure.
because you have a
Sure.
specific point of view, right?
Yeah.
There's in some ways you kind of have to have detractors to be
Yeah.
a star, and you
Yeah.
have to have that fandom as well. Like that
Yeah.
old saying, you can love me or hate me, but you can't ignore me.
That's right.
But these guys get ignored,
They do. They do.
so it's
Yeah.
kind of like, I mean, like I like them, but also
Hmm.
I would not say that they're like my absolute favorites, right? Like my number
Yeah.
one will always be Shah Rukh, and then there's
Yeah.
always Irfan for me.
Yeah.
So again, it comes back to do more work,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and don't do things
Yeah.
like race. Do like actual good work, like
He's
work
not
with Anurag
great.
Kashyap or
I
something.
rewatched Race in the last year and it was a little bumpy. That was not as good as I mean it's fun, it's silly, like it's you just kind of hang on and watch it just zoom by, but he was not as kind of comfortable in that as I
No,
was. That is one of his worst performances for me
interesting.
that I've seen, and
Okay.
there's quite a few of his films that I haven't seen, but I maybe I should complete my Akshay Khanna filmography.
Watch that Article 375 thing. He's
Okay.
really good at that. I think you'll
Okay.
like him in that. He really like does a good job.
Okay.
And then you had WhatsApped me before we started recording to remind you of a Bollywood ice cream thing, but I have no idea what you were talking about.
Oh, this is off topic. So I think we're officially
Okay.
done with the Khanna brothers,
Yes.
right? We love them. Please watch their films and other projects. So I was chatting with a friend over the weekend who was visiting me, who's a Bollywood friend, and she was just bringing up Bollywood ice cream purely on her own
Mm.
because she had not yet heard us talk about it. And she was saying, what flavor would Helen be? And well, and our thought, we discussed this while sitting outside at a local frozen custard place. So, we
Mm.
were inspired. And I think a Helen is actually a particular dish. It's like a sundae, and you can
I was
have
just gonna say like a
whatever,
Sunday.
yeah, you can have whatever flavors of ice cream or kulfi or whatever in there that you want, but it's going to have the little silver round sprinkles, the dragees, and
Hmm.
it's going to have like flakes of color
Yes.
things. It's going to have pop rocks. It's going to have different colored syrups.
All the
It's going to
things.
have, yeah. So it's got a lot of
Maraschino
toppings.
cherries.
Yeah. Maraschino cherries. It might have, basically if you can put it on ice cream, it's going to have a wafer sticking out of the side.
Yes.
It might have
Some mint leaves for garnish.
it might even be a float like with
Yeah.
carbonated, something or other around it. Like, so it's a format. It's not a flavor.
Yes, that is excellent. Now, while on this topic, because you and I love our ice cream, please do tell me if you had to pick an ice cream for the three Khannas, Vinod,
Oh,
Akshay, and Rahul, what do you pick?
I did not actually think about this ahead, shockingly. Well, Rahul is something very sophisticated.
Okay,
Right. So he is something like um
I
an
know what I
a,
want.
an olive oil basil ice cream or something like
Okay.
that. That and I don't mean to eject him from the sweets category, but I think he's something that's a little unusual. It costs a lot,
Yeah,
or it's made with
it's very
Himalayan some things.
artisanal.
It's very artisanal.
Mm.
Maybe it's something with a like a martini flavored. I don't know. I don't know. So I would, and it's
It's
gonna have
something that
very
goes viral on Instagram and
oh
TikTok, and all the
it
influencers eat
probably it
it.
has saffron in it or something, like it's
Right.
expensive. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure. Um Akshay, I feel like is gonna be some kind of flavor that is when you remember to order it, it's really good, but you don't remember it very often. So like
Mm.
a no, we've used pistachio already, so it can't be
Yeah.
pistachio, but so what's a good example? I mean, so in I'm just drawing a distinction here between pistachio kulfi and
Mm.
pistachio ice cream. So if you put him in the more ice creamy place, I feel like pistachio still holds. But yeah, something. What's a good flavor that I never remember to get?
Okay.
Like a
I was
like
always
a
thinking of Akshay as more of a sorbet.
oh
Like a lemon sorbet, for
Okay,
instance, or like
delicious.
I recently had a cranberry sorbet and it was so good.
Oh, I bet that's
I had
good.
never had a cranberry sorbet and I was like, do I want this? But I tasted it and it was really good. And so it was like a cranberry sorbet and it had pieces of like dried cranberry in
Uh-huh.
it. And it was very yummy because it wasn't like sweet,
Interesting.
sweet. It had
Yeah.
some tartness to it, but it
Yeah.
was very
Little
so
different.
a little bit different,
I like
not
that.
for everybody.
And
So
he
I
does
will
come
do
off as a
cranberry
little
sorbet.
tart in some of his
Yeah,
interviews, right? Like
a
by
little
which
bit
I mean
prickly.
sassy, prickly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, a little
I
bit irritable even.
Side note,
So cranberry sorbet for Akshay.
a couple years ago, a friend and I made India themed Thanksgiving, US Thanksgiving dinner. So we had like turkey keema and things like that. And I made cranberry lassies. So it can be done. But yeah, okay, so some
Okay,
kind of cranberry
perfect.
sorbet. I like that. So Vinod,
Yes.
uh,
We know it has to be something hearty and
very
like
hearty.
from Punjab or something.
Yeah, again, I'm tempted to put
His
in something
constituency is Gurdaspur, so it's like
with nuts in it. Again, like protein
I'm
and like
picking kulfi.
yeah.
It's got to be full fat kulfi. Like it's like buffalo milk. It's not even
Yeah.
cow milk. It's like whole buffalo milk kulfi, and it's got to have all the nuts in it.
But then it's also
That's
like
him.
you have a spoonful and you go, you know,
Yeah.
whatever flavor that is. I don't know.
um, and then for Rahul, I'm gonna pick, yeah, something very, very bougie.
But also it could be something incredibly low fat because
Yeah.
he does occasionally talk about food that seems very nutritious and like good for you and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
And
So
he has to maintain those deliciously good looks at the age of
that's right.
52. You don't look like that at 52 if you've been having the whole fat buffalo milk kulfi every
I
day.
mean, it is
So
served with some kind of amazing like sun blocking parasol so that you don't get any more wrinkles and things like that.
okay, here's a thought. He's a green tea matcha
Oh yeah.
sorbet with 24 karat gold flake balls on top.
Okay.
And it's served in a crystal thing with like a long spoon at
Yeah.
some extremely bougie place
Yeah. And it's
in
like
Manhattan.
$35 a serving or something like
Yes.
that. Yeah,
And there's
sure.
a line out the door.
Yeah.
That's Rahul Khanna.
Everyone wants to do a picture of it.
Yes.
And it would be very good poolside if you could manage to get it to the pool. So maybe it's like a really fancy lounge in a really fancy hotel where you can
Mhm.
also take it to the
It's served
pool.
at the Four Seasons.
Yeah. Rahul, if you do listen to this, our apologies.
I feel like he would like it. I feel like he would be like, yep, that's me.
If you are Rahul Khanna, tell us in the comments what flavor ice cream you want to be.
And then feed it to us. Send us a gallon or something. No, he wouldn't send us a gallon. He would send us like a chotula
Yeah,
little cup
yeah.
that'll be
Like a
gone
little
in like 2
tasting.
seconds. Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's like one of those desserts that's made of foam.
Yes.
But that's like passe at this point. Foam food, I feel like, is a
Yeah.
trend
Now
that's
it's
over,
like
so it's not
he's
bad.
always doing the next new thing, right? Like
Sure.
he's doing such a next new thing that we don't even know what he's doing.
We don't know.
Okay. Did you have any parting thoughts on the Khanna brothers?
Well, I would just love to know what listeners think of them because I feel like, as I
Mm.
said, I feel like they are under discussed in the world of, kind of Hindi cinema in general. Um, and can you think of siblings who've had two more divergent launches?
Mm.
And if you've seen Himalay Putra, I would really love to continue talking about it because it really was jam-packed with so many, and not necessarily so many like elements, but also just things that heroes do. Like it was a really carefully created hero launch. I don't know if we can say that it worked because he
It was
did have
quite a
well,
checklist.
he had a lot of films there in the first couple of years. So, but it was a very impressive opening shot, I would
Right.
say. Hats off to the
Also,
writers.
all these years later, I'm a bachelor still stands. He's still a bachelor. We think. We don't know.
Right.
Um, okay.
Right.
Well, I think that concludes this episode
Yes.
of Filmy Ladies. Tell us what you think about the Khanna brothers and their patriarch as well.
Mm,
Tell us what ice cream flavors you think they are, or just in general, if you want to chat about ice cream, we're always up
yeah.
for that conversation. It is 90 degrees today where I live, and I am burning up, and I want to
What
talk about ice
what
cream.
ice cream is in your freezer right now?
I have the Haagen-Dazs mini
Oh
bars,
yeah,
which is my
your
usual
favorite.
favorite. Yeah. But tonight I'm making lemon drop martinis
Oh
because my friend
yes,
is coming over.
yes.
So I have vodka in the freezer, I have Tito's, and I have simple syrup in the fridge,
Mm,
and I bought some Meyer lemons, and I'm gonna make the lemon
lovely.
sugar and everything, and we're gonna have that with Thai food, and we're
Mm.
gonna watch the new Dallas Cowboys
Oh,
cheerleaders documentary that came out on Netflix.
nice, nice.
Yeah, my friend was like, "Y'all are watching the Dallas Cowboys documentary? Like, y'all hate football." I was like, "No, no, it's the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. We
Talk
love the
about
cheerleaders."
childhood pop culture influences. Man, they were a big deal when I was little. And a lot of us
Yeah.
wanted the white boots so we could like
Yes,
make a
and
kick
the
line
little
in our front
jackets, so
yard.
cute.
Yeah,
When
so
I
cute.
first came to America, I'd never heard of cheerleaders. I had no idea what the heck that was,
Mm.
and I did like, it was just completely foreign to me, and at first I was like, "What in heaven's name is a cheerleader?" And then I mean, I vaguely knew because of Beverly Hills 90210, but
Mhm.
not like professional cheerleaders,
Right.
right? And then I saw them, and then I was just like, "I don't know what this is, but I love it, and I want to know everything about it. Tell me all the things." And I like how spangly and shiny they
So
are.
spankly.
But my friend and I, we're gonna go full goblin mode. So we're gonna wear comfy things and have
Mm.
our Thai food and our lemon drop martinis, and it's gonna be hilarious because we're gonna be goblins and we're gonna watch these ultra glamorous women with so much hairspray in their hair is gonna destroy the ozone layer,
And
and we're gonna have a good
amazing,
time.
dancers, for lack of another word that I can't. Yeah, I mean, they're the
Yeah,
Rockettes. They just do it during sports, basically, right?
right.
So,
And like teeny tiny, talk about teeny tiny
oh yeah,
shorts,
very
very,
tiny
very
shorts.
tiny
Yeah,
shorts,
it's a leotard basically, which is
basically,
amazing. But yeah, oh man, I loved them. There's a
and their
film, I
hats.
forget what film it is, but Bindu has a number where she is wearing what to my eyes is a very Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders inspired outfit. I will try to post it here so others can see it. I'll have to come up with what it was, but it's purple and white instead of like blue and white and silver. But it to me,
Nice.
as a an American from that time period, I was like, oh, I know that outfit.
I hope she has stars
I
everywhere.
don't think she does, but
Oh
it's
no.
a very, very recognizable to me. I'm not saying they
Very
copied it.
nice.
I'm just saying like that's what that
Yeah, yeah.
reminded me of. But I'm sure it's out there in the 70s for people to use.
Right.
So
Feroz
yeah.
Khan would know about it.
Oh, yeah. I bet you anything Feroz Khan has been in one of the skyboxes wherever
Oh,
the
for sure.
and I'm here, I'm
What
gonna show
ice
my
cream?
ignorance. Wherever the Cowboys play, I don't know. Dallas,
I don't know anything about football.
some kind
Um,
of dome, probably. I don't know.
what kind of ice cream do you have in your fridge?
Well, I have a couple things worth sharing here. So I have the end of a container of cherry chocolate chip, which is a
Mhm.
new that's obviously a long-standing flavor, but I'm kind of more recently into
Is
it.
it like Cherry Garcia? The Ben
Yeah,
and Jerry's flavor?
yeah.
Okay.
And then I have some frozen yogurt bars by a company called Yasso, which I think
Oh
are really
yeah.
good. One is coffee chocolate chip, and the other is mint chocolate chip. And then I will share, since we're talking about the 70s, my mother, when I was growing up, made popsicles out of Jello. And what's great about it is they don't freeze ice cube hard. They're quite firm, but you can still like bite into them without cracking your
Mm,
teeth. So I have a thing of raspberry jello popsicles in
nice.
my freezer that I made using the same shape of mold that I had as a kid. So
I
I
love the
will have
jiggle
probably
jiggle.
one of all of those this evening because it's kind of humid and gross here. It's not as hot anymore, but it's still not pleasant. So ice
Yeah.
cream for everyone.
Yay. All right. Well, thank you for watching Filmy Ladies, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.